then you'd have to come up with some crazy reason. That's right. Some crazy reasoning or of how we got here out of the hundreds of trillions upon quadrillions of stars and planets around those stars. Like, what is the thing that occurred that is so mathematically improbable that it's only going to occur once out of a universe that has more stars than grains of sand on the entire planet Earth?
Right. That's improbable.
That's like crazy. Like, no one's even conceived of an idea of what that would be.
So right now, just because we don't have any evidence that there are aliens, we imagine that we're alone. But in reality, I think our tooling is just too primitive. Before we had telescopes to be able to observe the wider universe, and we thought that the sun revolved around us. I think we're there.
Like, relatively to the cosmos, that was like last week. We thought we were the center of the universe. Like,
we thought we were the only life forms. I mean, actually, I think we still are, right? Because there's still people who say, well, I don't see any evidence of alien life, therefore they don't exist.
It's possible that there's even alien life in our own solar system. Like, we even ruled that out. Like, there's places like Titan, for example, some of the moons of Jupiter actually have the possibility of proper temperatures, underneath the surface, blah, blah, blah. Even Mars has actually a large quantity of water underneath the surface that could have microbial life on it, right? But like,
okay, you think they're microbial rather than actually sentient?
Well, in this solar system, yes. Other solar systems, no. We are babies, right? We are 200,000 years old, you and I, as a species, and the universe itself is 13.8 billion years old, right? So it's like,
we know that the universe is that old based on the Big Bang.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the great things about James Webb Space Telescope, is that it's able to look further back in time. Because, like, in that little photo you saw, some of those galaxies are 13.5 billion light years away. So it took that much time, even though light travels at 185,000 miles per second, which is obviously just mind-bogglingly quick. 13.5 billion years of traveling at that speed to get to your eyeball right now in this moment, which is just like, what? It breaks my brain. It breaks my brain. So, like, just the idea that you're looking at literally the universe as it was 13.5 billion years ago, not how it is today.
Right.
So it's just like you're literally in a time machine, in a literal sense, looking back into time.
Right.
When you're looking through the James Webb Space Telescope, you're seeing how the universe as it was tens of billions of years ago.
That's crazy. And then that's not accounting for potential multiverses too.
And that's not accounting for potential. Yeah, that is another whole other topic, which is also super fascinating and interesting. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. Right now there's these movies, including Everything All at Once, and Doctor Strange. They're all talking about the concept of a multiverse.
Yeah. I gotta see that movie, by the way. Everything, All Things All at Once, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Everything All at Once. Yeah, it's got my favorite actress. She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
She's done a bunch of stuff. She was just in Marvel's film Shang-Chi. She was in that as well.
Right, yeah.
She played like the aunt of the main character.
Right. Yeah.
I love her. She's great. She does a great job.
Yeah. I was a child in single digits watching her growing up, and now she's still killing it.
And that movie was amazing. From what I haven't seen it myself quite yet, but like I hear that's crazy because the budget was like pennies, and they were able to produce this really, like,
Really?
Yeah, like supposedly, like, the budget was crazy low, but what they were able to do with such a small budget to produce such a high special effect, like visually intense film with such a low budget was like monumental. That's from what I was reading.
Right. Yeah, I heard I heard good things about the director, but it's obviously somebody who I don't know too much about him, but he had experience in the past. All I'm saying is there wasn't that much CGI involved, and that's where most of the budget comes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the expensive stuff is the CGI, and
Yeah,
there's like a tendency for new Marvel films or something to just lean heavily on that instead of just like
right.
regular meat space stuff.
Yeah. The meat
Yeah.
space stuff. I like the way you put that, the meat space stuff.
Uh-huh, yeah. Anything in meat space, yeah.
Well, actually, in science, it's in space. They build something called crash-only software. Have you heard of this concept called crash-only software? It's a development idea of like, because you're not there on Mars, like you would build the rovers like this, because you're not on Mars to like, touch it and fix it and do things, so that if there's some sort of bug, the whole system just purposely panics and then restarts in a known good state. Just so like if something were to go wrong, the whole system would just kill itself and then restart into a good state. And then from there, send like logs and stuff to like, back to like Houston or whatever it is. And then, analyze, make a software update. Because most of the time when those things like they launch from, from Florida or how they're starting off from, the software is not written yet. It's actually being written on the way to Mars.
Oh, really?
Commonly it's not even written yet. So they actually beam it up, like some sort of basic framework is there, like just so we can like do an update, and it's more or less it. And then they spend years designing the software and then beaming it later on after the launch.
Oh, interesting. Is that to save time? Is that
Yeah, that's part of it's to save time. It's part of it's that they're making new changes all the time. I mean, software, like it crashes, it's got bugs. It was needs continuous maintenance and improvements and all these kind of things. And so sometimes they just need more time on the software side than the engineering side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah.
But what happens if the rover is in a ditch and can't save itself? Like,
then it just dies at that point, right? That's they literally spend hours, I believe, like in simulations. When they actually like give it instructions, it takes a long time to drive that thing. Like people actually drive those rovers around on Mars, like they make small movements over time. They analyze everything in the view of it, like, oh, is that a ditch, is that a rock, is that a thing, like should we go around this thing, or maybe we go to the left if it's better if we went right, or like they really go into like really like intense depths to make sure they don't drive it into a ditch and like lose the whole thing, because that's like a $5 billion machine they're piloting around. They can't just like YOLO their way through it. So if they don't this, then they're basically screwed, for the most part, unless they can get clever about it and figure out some way around it.
Yeah.
That's partially why they were so impressed by like all those Mars rovers, because they're supposed to last for like 10 years and they lasted for like 25 or something ridiculously long. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but like in the end, like just there's too much dust accumulated on the solar panels and the thing just died of starvation, more or less.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It sounds like there's an easy fix. They should just like build in
like,
window wiper. Yeah.
Like just like kind of like jiggle its way or like something like this, like just kind of in and out, or close it and then open it and close it and then open it. I don't know, something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like an easy fix.
Yeah, but they didn't expect it to last as long as they did. They didn't think that would be an issue because they thought it was going to last 10 years. And that to get that much dust on it, it takes like, much more than 10 years. They didn't really calculate for that particular outcome.
Right. Right.
One of the funny facts about those rovers, by the way, just for giggles, is that it sings happy birthday to itself every year.
Really?
It literally makes an auditory like da 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 da. Like it literally does that on an empty planet to itself.
That's cute. Does it ping that audio back to Earth just so we could celebrate with?
I don't think it pings the audio back. It'll probably be not an inefficient use of data stream, but like it comically, it actually literally has a little speaker on it that it just like happy birthday to
loneliest
me.
Birthday party in the world.
The most loneliest birthday party, hundreds of millions of miles away from the closest living thing.
Yeah. Hey, do you think that we're going to take humans to Mars in our lifetimes?
It's possible. It's hard to say that now because, at least from a government perspective, that the investment into that has kind of dried up. At least it feel that way to me.
Yeah,
the private industry
Elon is taking private. Yeah, I don't think government will do it. No way.
Elon possibly could, but it's extremely difficult for I mean, obviously it's for more reasons than I probably even know, to be honest. It just, the amount of energy you need to do it, the amount of weight you need to do it, you have to send things ahead of time, create bases ahead of time. I mean, there's actually a crazy notion, and this is actually a true thing people are actually talking about. This sounds so sci-fi, but it's like, it's actually theoretically possible. Is there's a moon on around Mars, and you can get a you like hang like a hook from the moon, and so the hook is like going around the moon at very fast speeds, right? And it becomes like an assist
Oh,
to both capture you on the way in and accelerate you on the way out. And so you don't need as much fuel, like, you know, because there's no fuel on Mars. That's not that I'm aware of, that I'm aware of on Mars, to actually like juice up and go back to Earth, because I'm assuming it's not a one-way trip. But like there's this idea, like basically it sounds so crazy, but I guess it's possible, theoretically possible, whether we have the right material to do so. It's a different conversation, but like I'm just like creating these like little assists, these little thing that flips around at high speeds and like catches you and, you know, accelerates you and moves you around. That'd be a pretty nutty way of going at it, but that's another thing people have been talking about.
yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, using a planet for some sort of gravitational acceleration.
Using the moon's like a hook hanging from the moon, basically.
Oh, so it's just like we're throwing like a string with a weight at the end, and we're just like,
Yeah, it's like almost like if you have like a ball with a string to it, and you just like you do this, and
yeah,
the thing using centripetal force of the rotation of the moon and the planet, all that kind of stuff. Use that force to kind of propel it forward, to like get to transfer energy.
yeah.
Like planetary systems, we do that sometimes, and the only reason that works is because the planet's moving. Because if there was a planet here and you wouldn't like buy it like this, and the planet wasn't moving, then you get an equal amount of energy in as you get an equal amount of energy out. So you wouldn't actually assist. The reason why it assists is because it moves. So you get more time on one side than the other side, which creates an equal aspect of energy being applied or taken from the spaceship or the, you know, the satellite or whatever it is we're talking about. And so because it's moving, it gives you a little bit more a gravitational assist to increase the speed of which, you know, the ship or the satellite or whatever we're talking about, or even asteroids, right? Whatever it is in space. Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it totally is. It just reminds me of the Joe Rogan episode where he talks to this guy who was working around Area 51 in the like 60s, 70s, basically the heyday of the space race. But you know, this guy was working on alien technology, according to him, and he says that. Did you watch that episode?
I don't think I did. I don't think I caught that one.
Well, according to him, the United States government is in possession of alien spacecraft, and they're able to fly it. And the spacecraft, when you turn it on, it creates like a gravitational envelope around the craft. And so the envelope is essentially a gravitational field, and it can manipulate gravity around it, meaning like it's kind of like a magnet, in that it can like bounce off of Earth's gravitational field, and so it kind of like uses that force to like repel itself and then navigate.
It's almost like a negative gravity in a sense,
right? Anti-gravity.
Yeah.
Well, that's according to him, and then according to him, there's no heat loss, meaning it's extremely efficient energy wise.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he said it's the first, you know, in anything human made, there's heat loss, right? Meaning there's just like a loss of energy. But this thing does not lose heat, and it generates its own gravitational field.
That would be insane. Right. That's actually, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But like, we as humans, we understand gravity almost nothing. Like we have very little understanding of actually what gravity even is. We understand the mathematics of how it functions, right? We understand the mathematics of how quantum mechanics functions as well, but we don't understand like why it exists or how it actually does what it does. People talk about a theoretical gravitron particle, for example, which hasn't been, I don't think has been quite proven yet, to my knowledge at least. So there's so little we understand about gravity that the idea of somebody creating like an envelope, like you're talking about, while sounds sci-fi and sounds somewhat ridiculous, but there's, from a first principles perspective, there's no reason why that can't exist. There's no reason why we can't, that couldn't be invented by
Right.
an intelligent, species that's not here, right?
Right.
Somewhere else in Alpha Centauri or whatever it's going to be,
Yeah.
wherever it is. What was the one that in that movie Contact? I can't remember the name of the star, whatever the thing. That, oh God, it's going to bother me now.
I haven't watched that movie, so I can't help you.
I love that. You even watch that movie? It's one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. You got to watch it. You got to watch that one. Contact, starring Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey. I think it's 1996, if I'm not mistaken, when it came out. I think it was partially written or co-written by Carl Sagan.
Wow.
Carl Sagan, famous astronomer in the 1970s, predominantly, like, I think he partially wrote it, and they dedicated the film to him. So when you go watch it, in the very beginning, let's say like for Carl, and that's who they're talking about. They're talking about Carl Sagan.
Okay, I'll watch it. I can't believe I haven't heard of that until now.
It's one of the most scientifically accurate sci-fi movies that I've ever seen. Like that and The Martian are probably the most like accurate sci-fi films in terms of like realistically, oh, this could actually happen the way that they're talking about it. Like it's actually really well done.
So what is it about? It's making contact with alien life forms, or
yeah, it's about like Jodie Foster plays a scientist who's dedicated to finding alien life, and with using like radio telescopes in New Mexico, and she hears a signal, or she gets a signal from this star that's not that far away from us. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's bothering me. And then it beams down instructions of how to build like a transport, right? And then they're building this like transportation machine, and the political aspects to it, the religious aspects to it, like her strife to find the answer to her question of like, are we alone in the universe? And then I'm not going to give the plot away because you haven't seen it yet, but like she goes into this transport, and all this stuff happens. It's actually a very well done sci-fi film. You should definitely watch that one.
Okay, yeah, I definitely will.
In fact, the main character's name is Ellie, who my daughter also named Ellie, in part because of that film. Believe it or not.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
So you named your daughter after.
Well, it's like my wife was like, "What about the name Ellie?" And the first thing that came to my mind was like Jodie Foster's character in in Contact, because I was like I'm a huge fan of the film. I'm like, oh yeah, I love like that character, that name, that there. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And we were like, all right, our name is Ellie.
That's so cute. Name your children after scientists.
She's gonna grow up like I'm gonna be like I live in New York, and so like we're gonna go to the Natural Museum of Science and like this planetarium they have here, which is like next level amazing. And like she's gonna grow up with like math and science like at our forefront. I think.
Oh yeah.
I'm just stuffing that stuff down her throat her whole life.
That's the stuff that needs to be emphasized right now. Keep your kid away from TikTok. Have you seen what they're saying about TikTok? TikTok is basically Chinese malware, because what the TikTok algorithm props up in the West is stuff like, you only live once, so you don't have to, maybe you shouldn't work, just spend your life unemployed and like traveling the world and being an influencer. But what the algorithm in China promotes is like engineering, coding, science, and being masculine, stuff like that. And at the same time, in the West, it's like, that stuff
smoke weed every day.
Smoke weed every day. YOLO. Yeah.
YOLO it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually, if that's true, that's actually masterfully brilliant. An entire new methodology of like attacking another civilization without even being aware that's happening. Like that's brilliant.
It's all psyops. Brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all yeah.
I remember like that being in the media like a while back, and like people were yelling at like Trump, who was president at the time, to like ban TikTok in the United States, and
he did.
Did he actually do it? I wasn't.
He signed. Yeah, he signed an executive order, and then as soon as Biden came in, that was like one of the first things to go.
Now TikTok is back.
Oh yeah, with vengeance.
I saw this random news article today about TikTok, where this woman, she was dating this guy, and the guy was on dialysis, like he has a dying kidneys, and she gave him one of her kidneys, and then he cheats on her. Isn't that crazy?
Excuse me?
The lady saved your life,
Wow.
giving you her own kidney,
Yeah.
and then you cheat on her.
What a dick.
I was on TikTok. I saw like a news thing pop up on my phone earlier. I was just like, that's insane. And they were only dating for like, I think 3 months or 4 months at the time or something like this. It wasn't even like but she
Oh,
was
that's
convinced that like
crazy.
we're gonna be here for forever. Like this is my life partner. Like she was in this mentality, and like obviously that didn't work out so well because he's an asshole. But
Wow.
like,
That's crazy. So she went into this relationship, just with rosy eyes and understanding that this guy only had a few months to live. And then he's like,
yeah,
yeah, I only have a few months to live. By the way, I need a kidney. And then he swindles her of her kidney. And he's like, actually, I'm not that into you. You're not that hot or
yeah.
whatever. And like,
There's
I'm
somebody else
healthy
who apparently
now.
is hotter or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I got a second
Uh,
chance at life. So I may as well live it up.
yeah. How fucked up is that shit? That's some pretty fucked up shit right there. That's
Yeah.
some pretty messed up stuff. Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
there are like so many stories about Tinder swindlers where guys just pretend they're rich dudes or whatever, and then they actually swindle a poor girl out of a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah.
yeah, all this romantic swindling going on.
I know. That's a
Guys
whole new
swindling.
era.
Yeah.
Like I'm an old man, so like,
Yo,
but
I'm an old
like
lady.
I'm an old man, you're an old lady, apparently. Like it's a different age. But
Hmm.
I saw the documentary that Tinder swindler thing. Like it was just an insane story. This guy was able to, I think I came out later that he came out later after the thing came out, and he publicly said like, oh, like this is an acknowledgement of my genius. That's what this like that's how he interpreted the documentary, was like an acknowledgement of how brilliant and amazing he was, when in reality
Yeah.
it just painted him as a complete and utter piece of human trash. And he just walked away from it like, oh, look how brilliant I am. Like,
Well, yeah, that's the kind of narcissistic personality that would come out and think that, right?
yeah,
Like how else I don't know
yeah,
how else to interpret that other
yeah.
than
I don't know.
as a total narcissist.
That's probably the best way you possibly can right there. You don't
Yeah.
even need a degree in psychology to figure that one out. But yeah, you were absolutely 100% correct.
Hmm. So anyway, lesson here, kids, is prevent your kid from going on social media.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with my daughter, because by the time she's at that age, it's gonna be even worse probably, and I'm just terrified.
It is bad because if a lot of people used to raise their children in front of TVs, and that was when I was growing up. But now that there's social media and TikTok and having like an iPad that has all the apps and games on a single interface, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep your kid off of that stuff. And then there's constantly new apps being built, and there's just stuff where predators are trying to meet like young children on. There's like
Oh
apps
yeah.
for that. Apps.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I just thought a little queasy in my stomach there just thinking about that. That's pretty insane.
Yeah. So, as a parent, if you're not hyper vigilant about it and
Oh
in the know of what
gosh.
apps kids are using now, you may not know that your kid's even on that stuff.
That's so trouble. Like, imagine you have the technical skill to actually produce something of value, but instead you decided to dedicate your time to building some creepy fucking app for some creepy
Yeah.
people,
Yeah,
rather than
exactly.
like joining the DeFi space and building something of real value. Like, no, you gotta focus on, oh, this is the problem you're trying to solve.